This week on Environment, melting glaciers, new lakes, energy opportunities in a changing alpine landscape.
We don't want to use any more electricity with nuclear.
Ice being lost at a rate faster than expected. How quick and how serious?
In the space of a year, it's lost 25 meters.
Melting ice sheets contain enormous methane deposits, a time bomb for the climate or a valuable untapped resource.
We'd expect this to have serious environmental repercussions.
I'm walking along one of the longest and highest footbridges in Europe, certainly here in the Swiss Alps. It was built to carry people over Lake Trift, a lake that didn't exist 10 years ago. People used to be able to walk right up this mountain, but today the glacier tongue moves further and further away. An irreplaceable loss for the environment, but an unexpected win for the region in other ways. At 3,500 metres high, tourists have long made the 2-hour trek to see the Trift Glacier in the Swiss Alps. But since a suspended bridge was built in 2004 to make up for the missing ice, the number of visitors has surged.
It's the second time we've come here. We came last year and found it so beautiful. We wanted to come again.
David Volken is also making his way up the mountain, but for a different reason. The scientist has been studying the rapid loss of ice in Switzerland's alpine region. The Trift has been a particular focus. It used to extend an extra 3 kilometres down the mountain, but it's melting, and in the last decade has formed a lake at its base.
What we can see here is the glacier and the lake. The glacier has retreated 800 meters in the last decade. The steep part of the glacier tongue has separated from the rest, which means that it will lose between 300 and 400 meters next year.
While the lake has provided an extra attraction for the tourists, it's also put them more at risk.
It's dangerous if the glacier breaks away at this point here. The melted ice then slides into the lake, which causes a flow of water like a tide, which then falls onto the tourists and the hikers below.
The town of Gadman is the nearest pit stop on the road to the Trift Glacier. Its residents can see the irony in their situation. The melting glacier is an environmental loss for the region, but the lake and subsequent bridge has brought new economic growth. And in a town like this, every Swiss franc counts.
It brings more people and it brings jobs and also for the farmers it's very good because they can selling their products directly to the customers, to the people who are coming to this place, and that's a good thing.
But this changing alpine landscape is offering yet another, much larger financial opportunity.
And this is one of our power stations which produces electricity which are from the water which is stored in our lakes.
Hydropower currently provides 56% of Switzerland's electricity. This company already has 5 dams in the region. It's considering building another, using the Trift Glacier's recently formed lake.
We don't want to use any more electricity with nuclear. If we want to fill the gap with hydroelectricity, we need the storage.
As the ice continues to melt, hundreds of new lakes are appearing in this mountainous region. This one here at the base of the Rhone Glacier falls in a federally protected zone, but could eventually be reclassified as a potential site for a future dam. The Alps may have lost 1/3 of their ice, but another of Europe's mountain ranges is melting at an even more spectacular rate. Scientists are already imagining the Pyrenees without any glaciers at all. Sounds dramatic, but could be a reality by the year 2050.
Pierre RENE has been studying glaciers in the Pyrenees for 12 years now. Soon, though, he may have nothing to study. Due to global warming, ice, which was once thought would last forever, is now in the process of disappearing. Around the same time each year, Pierre comes back here to measure the glaciers using a fixed point in the rock called a spit.
So, we've arrived at the end. We're at 104.5 meters. Last year on the 14th of September, so around a year ago, the glacier was at 80 meters from the spit. In the space of a year, it's lost 25 meters.
Summer has taken its toll. At this rate, this glacier, called the Glacier du Talent, will have disappeared in 30 years' time. A familiar story across the Pyrenees where glaciers are melting quickly. A striking difference in the glacier's appearance is evident when photos taken at the start of the 20th century are compared with those taken more recently. Some glaciers have totally evaporated. To highlight this, Pierre heads to a well-known summit where over the last 10 years one glacier has completely disappeared.
We've got an old photo of this glacier and the records of 1911. We know at that time it measured close to 38 acres. Today there's nothing left.
The accelerated disappearance of these glaciers is the first sign of the troubles to come. In the Pyrenees, climate change is more rapid than in the rest of France. Animals and vegetation here will have to adapt to the change, and during the summer months without glaciers, river levels will decrease. The threat of torrential rains at other times of the year is also very real. For CARLO KUSTRE-CRAMPE, who spends most of his year outside with 200 sheep, dry land and varying types of wind are cause for concern.
It keeps getting hotter and hotter. The grass won't grow like it did before, and therefore the sheep will stop grazing higher up in the mountains. It will be a bit of a curse for us.
The Pyrenees are turning a new page, one in which 20,000-year-old glaciers could all but disappear.
When glaciers melt, an obvious effect is an increase in water flow, but a less talked about consequence has scientists worried. There's fears that global warming could release methane trapped in ice sheets in the Arctic and Antarctic. Methane is a harmful greenhouse gas, but it's also a potential source of energy.
This ice is one of nature's mysteries. It's not made up of water, but methane hydrate, a frozen gas which could be the energy of tomorrow. Its deposits are double the global reserves of all gas, oil and coal deposits combined. The majority lie beneath the ocean floor, but a fifth of deposits are found in permafrost, the frozen ground in Siberia, Greenland and the Earth's poles, with the potential to replace other energy sources.
This natural gas is thought to be a significant potential resource for our energy needs later in this century.
But methane hydrate also has its drawbacks. It's difficult and costly to extract. Some specialists say it should only be used once oil becomes too expensive or runs out. It's also very polluting, emitting a greenhouse gas 30 times that of carbon dioxide. After 10 years, this converts to the less toxic CO2, but its lifespan still stretches to some 100,000 years. A rise in the Earth's temperature by just a few degrees would release the gas from the permafrost into the atmosphere, with serious consequences.
We'd undoubtedly see an increase in temperature of around 5 degrees. Maybe even more. And that would be a far more rapid increase than the one we're currently witnessing. We'd expect this to have serious environmental repercussions.
The gas could also be the key to unlocking another mystery. When the methane hydrate stored in the ocean floor is released from the ice into the water, it reduces buoyancy. Scientists believe it could be behind the disappearance of ships in the Bermuda Triangle.
The only way to slow the rapid rate of glacial melting is, of course, to slow global warming. But as this graphic produced by NASA shows, temperatures are on a one-way trajectory. Blue shows temperatures that are lower than the baseline average, red shows those that are above average. And 2012 is on track to be just as out of the ordinary. That brings us to the end of this week's show. Thanks for joining us here in Switzerland. We'll see you again back in France next time.